Hey guys, in this month's top 5, I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite villains. Anyone who knows me knows that I love a good villain. Villains are usually some of my favorite characters. I love to hate villains. The more evil and vile they are, the better. Plus, if they're charming and charismatic, that's an additional bonus there too. And I had a hard time trying to come up with a list for this video because villains, they can be on this really broad spectrum of villainy, you know what I mean? Because you have on one extreme the super evil, vile, despicable villains, and then on the other end you have the villains who are more like kind of like anti-heroes, you know what I mean? That they're not totally evil, that there is the chance of them flip-flopping from bad to good. So yeah, I had a hard time with this video because it's like, how do I come up with a top 5 list of villains, you know, especially the range that there is, the possibilities. So I tried with this top 5 list, I tried to come up with the top 5 that really just kind of came to mind first, I suppose. So let's get going. At number 5, I have Mr. Wickham from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. I think including Mr. Wickham on this list is probably a bit of a spoiler because when you're first introduced to Mr. Wickham, he comes across as very charming and charismatic and kind of lovable and likable. And you kind of root for him, you know, before you really get to know and understand Mr. Darcy. You're almost kind of on Mr. Wickham's side in a weird way. His charm and charisma is all an act and a facade, essentially, until you understand his true nature by the end of the book. But yeah, that's what I love about Mr. Wickham, is that facade. And he, in any movie adaptation, TV adaptation, whatever, his character is usually the character that I'm most interested in watching, and I always find Mr. Wickham the most fascinating character, weirdly enough. And what I like about my villains as well, I like when there's reason and purpose to why someone behaves the way that they do, and Wickham is definitely one of those characters. He has a reason why he does the things that he does, and I think that's kind of totally understandable. At number 4, I have Lord Ido from the duology Eon and Iona by Alison Goodman. Lord Ido, in this duology, you guys, he is far and away my favorite character. Sometimes the other characters, the heroes, sometimes I can get a bit on my nerves and I find them all a bit frustrating, but it's like I never really got frustrated with Lord Ido, weirdly enough. He is just one of the most interesting and fascinating and complex characters. He's really fun to analyze. I could literally spend a good while trying to analyze him because he definitely has his reasons for the things that he does. He's very power hungry, he's very ambitious, he's willing to do just about anything to get the things that he wants, and I love that in my villains. At number 3, I have Sebastian from the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. Not going to spend a hell of a lot of time talking about Sebastian because that could easily verge into some spoiler territory, major spoilers. But yes, Sebastian. Woo! What a character. Sebastian is truly one of the most diabolical, despicable villains out there, especially in young adult literature. I feel like in young adult literature, sometimes authors are afraid to make their villains truly despicable, you know? And yeah, Cassandra Clare, I feel like she went all out with the villainy of Sebastian because he's truly very, very frightening, and you never quite know what to expect with him. He can kind of just easily switch, like kind of like in this bipolar nature, essentially. At number 2, I have Ramsay Snow from George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. Ramsay Snow, man, what a villain. He is so twisted and vile and just sick. That's the word that comes to mind when you think about Ramsay Snow. He is just so sick and sadistic. And I'll tell you what, it was really, quite honestly, very hard to pick a villain from this series. Ramsay was kind of the very first person I went to, because I could have easily picked, like, Joffrey, or Littlefinger, or Cersei, or Jaime. You know, there's an overabundance of truly fantastic villains in this series, but I ultimately went with Ramsay because there's just something about him, you can't quite put your finger on him, and you never quite know what he's going to do. He's just really slippery and disgusting, and he can make his way into all these little itty-bitty cracks. And the mind games that he plays on people, you guys. I love the mind games that he plays on people. That's what makes him a top-notch villain for me, and why I decided to go with him from this series as a villain. And at number 1, I have Negan from Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead graphic novel series. What to say about Negan? Negan, I think he is the embodiment of everything that I like in a villain. Just about every word I can come up with. Negan is charming and charismatic. He's sadistic. He's sick. He's disgusting. And I think what makes Negan such a great villain is he's just so real, you know? Out of all of the villains that I've chosen for this list, he is the most real-world sort of villain, I suppose. You can see this type of character in everyday real life. And most importantly about Negan's character, I found him to be a true and genuine threat. The thing about the villains in the Walking Dead series as a whole, the characters they face many obstacles and threats, but there's always that shred of hope in the background, like, oh, these characters will be able to defeat this threat. But Negan, when you're first presented with Negan, you have absolutely no hope that the survivors will be able to defeat this guy, because he is that truly threatening and menacing that it's like, how can they bring this guy down? So I absolutely love Negan. He first pops up in this volume, compendium number 3. He easily stole the whole damn series from me personally. Every single panel that he would be on, I would just be absolutely enthralled, and he's just so fascinating and complex. So yeah, that's it for this month's top 5. In the comments below, what book villains do you guys love the most? Are there any that I left out on this list? So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.